Okay guys, so we're over on page 208 of our World of Graphics book, and we're on chapter 13, pictorial drawing. So we're looking at this question 4 here. Isometric views of an object are shown below. So create an isometric drawing of the object. So what we're given here is the elevation, so the view from the front of the shape, the plan, so the view from the top of the shape, and the end view. Okay, so the view of the shape looking in from the side of it. Okay, so I've drawn this up in OnShape already, and we can see that we have the elevation here. So this is what it looks like in the elevation. You can see that exactly the same. We have it in the plan, so if we're looking down on the top of the shape, we'll have the plan. So we have this backwards L shape and then this slanted surface here in the plan. And then in the end view, all we see it is as a square shape here. But we know, because there's a hidden detail line given of this surface here, so if I select this surface, so when we're looking in at the right, we can see that surface as a broken line. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of what we're looking at here, and I'm just going to look at it here in this way. So going back to our drawing, the first thing we want to do is to draw these three orthographic views. So we want to draw in the end view, the elevation, and the plan. So we're always going to start with the elevation. So we can start to see that the overall width of the elevation is 50 plus 58, so 108, and the overall height is 50. That is the same height over here as the end view as well, but we're just going to draw a rectangle that this whole shape is going to fit in. So it's going to be 108 by 50. So I'm going to go over to my sheet here. I have my border set up, and the overall height of that shape is 50. So I'm just going to come down 70 mil from my border, and about halfway across the page I'm going to draw a light construction line. Okay, I'm going to label that line the XY line. Okay, overall height of the shape is 50 mil. So I'm going to measure up 50, and I'm just going to draw a construction line across the top of my page. It's very light, and the overall width of the shape, as we discussed, was 108. Okay, so I'm just going to measure in from the right side of my sheet here, 120 all the way over here to get this point. And as we said, the width is 108, so I'm going to go across 108. And while I'm doing that, I'm just going to mark the point here 50 as well, because I know that I need that for later on. Okay, so from the left of that shape, I'm going to draw a vertical line up, and from the right, I'm going to draw a vertical line up as well. Okay, so what I've drawn there is a rectangular shape that's 108 wide and 50 tall. So I know that the elevation of my shape is going to fit directly inside that. Okay, so exactly below that shape, so I'm going to drop this line down, I can start drawing my plan. And I know that the depth of that shape is going to be 56. Okay, 56, and the width doesn't change, so it's going to be 108 wide as well. Okay, so this is for the plan. So the width doesn't change, so I'm going to drop the width straight down. Okay, two construction lines, just dropping that width straight down. And I'm going to leave a 15 mil gap between my XY line and the top of my plan. And I know that the depth of that plan is going to be 56, because it tells us in the book that it's going to be 56. So I measure down 56 mil and another construction line there. Okay, so I have a rectangle that my elevation is going to fit in, and a rectangle that my plan is going to fit in. And the final rectangle I want to find is over here, and that is where my end view is going to fit in. So to find the end view, I'm going to project up from this point here and this point here, two construction lines at 45 degrees. So I have my 45 degree set square here. I'm going to lay it down on my T-square. I'm going to put my pencil on the corner of the shape here and slide my set square over to it and draw a line up there at 45 degrees and another line from here at 45 degrees. Okay, so where they cut the XY line, which is at this point here and this point here, I'm going to be drawing a line vertically up. Okay, and this line here was 56, and by doing this at 45 degrees, this line here now is going to be 56 as well. Yeah, exactly 56. And the height here is 50. We just transferred that across because the height doesn't change now between the elevation and the end view. So we have a shape now. It's a 50 by 56 rectangle that the end view is going to fit into. Okay, so we have shapes now that they're going to fit into. It's just a matter of finding these firm lines here now. So I'm going to start with the elevation. So we see that we have a 50 mm line here, and we're going to have a vertical line up. Then we have to go across 58, and that's a line up at 60 degrees. Okay, so back to my worksheet. From this corner here, just like it says in the book, we have to measure across 50 mm. And I can grab my firm line pencil and just going to draw a firm line straight up there. Okay, and we also see that from this edge we have to have a line coming up here at 60 degrees. So grab your 60 degree set square. Place it down like this and measure it up at 60 degrees. Okay, line up at 60 degrees, and I can just finish off my firm lines in that shape. So the bottom of the shape, the top of the shape, and the left edge of that shape. Okay, so that's my elevation now drawn. Next thing I can draw is the plan. Okay, so I need to grab a measurement here from my book. In the plan, I can see that I need to come down 24 mm here and draw a horizontal line, and I need to drop this line vertically down to find this line here. I also need to drop this line vertically down to find this line. Okay, so a good bit to do here in the plan. I'm going to start my construction line, and I'm going to drop this line vertically down, and I'm going to drop this line vertically down. Okay, so we're taking it from the elevation and we're dropping it down into the plan. The next thing I need to do is measure down 24 here, because it says to do it in the book. Down 24 here, and that's going to be a horizontal line. Okay, then it's just a matter of filling in a few of my firm lines here. Okay, and that is the plan of my shape now drawn out. Okay, so I can actually look at that now in my drawing and we can see that now it looks just like the shape that we've drawn in plan. Okay, back to our book again, and the last thing we need to draw is this end view. So we have a broken line here, and we know that we measure down 24 here. So if I go back to my shape, measure down 24, so that would look like this in the end view. So this measurement here is 24 as well. Okay, so we could do two things. We could measure across here 24 mil, or we could just project it up from the plan into the end view. So that's what I'm going to do. Project this up into the end view and vertically up. Okay, and that is that line there in the end view. So rather than measuring it, I can just bring it up like that. And then just fill in my firm lines, so the left and the right, the top and the bottom, and a broken line here. So this dashed line shows that it's hidden detail. Okay, so we're not looking in at the end view from this side. Okay, if we were, we'd see it as a firm line, like that. That's a firm line. We're actually looking in from this side here. So we know that that line is there, but we show that with a broken line. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Back to our sheet now again. So we have our orthographic views drawn. The next thing that we can do is to draw a freehand sketch over here. So we're going to sketch it in isometric before we draw our orthographic drawing with our equipment here. So it just makes it a small bit easier for us to visualize that shape. So you could draw it up in OnShape first, and you could be looking at it. If you press this button here, you can be looking at it like this. Okay, so it's quite easy to draw it like that. Alternatively, you could just draw it from what you picture in your head, but it could be helpful for a few of you maybe just to draw it out in OnShape first. Okay, so I'm going to start here with a line going vertically down, a line going up here to the right at 30 degrees approximately, and a line going up to the left at approximately 30 degrees as well. Okay, now what I want to do, so if you remember from our OnShape, we usually start with a cube and then we start, or in this case it would be a cuboid. We start with that and we start cutting sections off of it. So if you imagine that cube that would fit this whole shape inside it, we're going to start by trying to sketch something like that. Okay. So this line here at the front is going to be parallel with this line here at the top. And this line here is going to be parallel with this line. Then this line here is going to be parallel with this line. Okay. Okay, so mine's gone a small bit up into my border here, but not to worry. So what I've done here is a line at 30 degrees, a line at 30 degrees, and a line vertically down. This line here is going to be parallel with this line, which is also going to be parallel with this line here. Okay, so what I like to do is just to go over my line before I draw it. So ghost over this line a few times and then draw this line. Ghost over this line a few times, then try to draw this line here. This line here, if we remember from our shape, is going to be about twice the length of this line. Okay, so this was about 50, this was about 100, so just try to keep it in proportion, and this was about 50 as well, so it should be 1 by 1 by 2. That should be the size of your box approximately. Okay, next thing we want to do is start cutting a few sections out of that. So I'm going to start with the slanted section. So remember that this was a 60-degree angle, so it's not going to be a 60-degree angle in isometric, but just approximately it's going to be about to here. So just join this line down like this, across the top parallel with the front, and from here back down to the corner. Okay, so that would be taking that front section out of it. Then it's going to come in here and I'm going to be taking off an L shape. So be coming back in here parallel with the front, and then going back into the shape here parallel with the side here. Okay. Then I'm going to get rid of a few of my construction lines. And I'm going to go over it then with firm lines. Okay, so that's our shape now drawn in a sketch, isometric, and we want to draw it out now properly using our equipment. Okay, so again we're just going to start with a line going up at 30 degrees. This time we're going to be more accurate about it, so we're going to be using our set square. So a line going up here at 30 degrees, and a line going in the opposite direction at 30 degrees. And a line going vertically up. So this is our isometric axis. Okay, so if we're thinking of that cube that our whole shape is going to fit in, it's going to be, come back to our drawing here, it's going to be 50 tall, it's going to have a depth of 56, and it's going to have a width of 108. Okay, so I'm going to measure up this direction here, 108 mil. A height of 50. And depth of 56. Okay, so from the dot on this line here going up at 30 degrees, I'm just going to draw a vertical line straight up. From the dot over here, 108 mil over, I'm going to draw a line vertically up. And from the height line here at the center of our axis, I'm going to draw a line up at 30 degrees until it cuts this line, and up in 30 degrees until it cuts this line. Okay. So I have a line going up here now, 56, height 50, and over here 108 mil. Okay, so from here now I want to draw a line back at 30 degrees, and from here I want to draw a line back at 30 degrees in this direction. Construction line to start with, and where the two of them meet is the back corner of our shape. So here we have the crate that our shape is going to fit into, and now it's a matter of taking the chunks out of that, like what we did in our freehand sketch drawing here as well. Okay, so the first chunk that we want to take out is this angle here, so the angle here of 60 degrees. Now if we went over to our drawing and we tried to measure a 60 degree angle here, we wouldn't get the proper outcome that we're looking for. Okay, so instead of that we have to take measurements, so we have to find out how high up we have to go and how far in we have to go. Okay, and to do that we're actually going to have to go over to our drawing. So we see here we already have the height. Okay, but we need to find out how far in we go. So I'm just going to measure that there to see how far it is, and it is 29 mil. Okay, so I'm just going to measure in here now 29 millimeters to get this point here. I can draw a line now across the top of my shape and then join them lines down to the corners. Okay, and then I can be getting rid of these construction lines in a couple of minutes as well. Okay, the next line that we want to find is this one here that we see in the plan. Okay, so how far is this distance here? And we know that that is from the drawing measuring in 56 mil. Okay, so I'm going to measure in altogether 56 mil. To find that point there. I'm going to draw that in. Okay, the next one I want to find is this one here on the top. So we find that from the plan, and we know that this here is 24. So I'm going to measure down 24 this time. And with a 30 degree line, I'm going to join that up to here. Okay, so that's what that would look like if I was looking down on the plan. I'd see the plan, but I need to cut this section out of that shape now. So vertical line down, and a vertical line down from here. Okay, but I want to find exactly where this line stops. So I know that the overall height of the shape is 50 mil. So I can now measure down this line here, 50 mil, or I can bring this line back into it. So I'm just going to bring that line back into it here to this point right here, and that point is going to be brought into our shape there. Okay, so I want to go over all them lines now to draw in my firm lines. That's going to be a firm line. Firm line. Okay, so that is our shape now drawn as a freehand sketch and then isometric as well. Okay, the next thing we want to do is to model it on OnShape. So I'm going to go over here now to OnShape, and I'm going to click onto my main menu, and I'm going to create a new shape. So press create, and we want to create a document. And this drawing is called Isometric 4. So you can call it Isometric Drawing 4. I already have one called Isometric Drawing 4. So you can call yours Isometric Drawing 4. I'm going to call mine Isometric 4. Okay, and we're greeted with the workspace then. So we've used this platform before, but I'll try to go through it slowly again, what we're going to do. So we want to draw this shape now in OnShape. So I'm going to start by drawing, I suppose, the footprint of the shape. Okay, so the overall length and the width of the shape. So I can see that the overall length here is going to be 50 plus 58, so 108, and in the plan it's going to be 56 here. Okay, so 108 by 56. So I'm going to go to OnShape, and because the footprint is going to be the bottom of the shape, so I'm going to draw it on this top plane. Okay, and everything I extrude then is going to be extruded off the ground of the top plane. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click once on sketch. Okay, it's asking me to select a sketch plane. So what sketch plane do you want to select? I want to select this one here. Okay, so now I'm sketching onto this top plane. The next thing I want to do is look directly onto the plane that I'm sketching onto. I can do that by clicking on this top. So if I click on top, I'm going to look directly onto the top, front directly onto the front, and the same with the right plane. So I want to look directly onto the top, and it'll show it like that, and I can zoom in and out. So what shape do I want to draw? I want to draw a rectangle. Now this is a corner rectangle. I could choose the corner rectangle, but instead this time I want to use the center rectangle. So click on this drop down menu and pick center point rectangle, and go to the center point, which is the origin here. One click on the origin and drag a rectangle, and this rectangle can be any size. You don't have to go and try to get it the exact size, it can be any size at all, because once we click, it's going to give us the option of dimensioning either of these sides. So we know the longer side is going to be a 108, so click 108 and hit enter. And once you hit enter, it's going to give you the option of filling in the other box. So the other box then is this dimension here, which is 56. So 5, 6, enter. So we have our rectangle now, the footprint of our shape. So if we look at that there now, we've just drawn that 2D shape. Okay, green tick once you're finished. Now we have a 2D shape at the moment, and I can scroll in and out here, and if I hold down that scrolling key, I can move my shape around like this. Okay, so I have my 2D sketch, 56 by 108. Now what I want to do is to make that into a 3D shape. So extrude is the feature that we use to make it into a 3D shape. Extrude. So one click on extrude, and now it's asking, okay, well, what faces or sketch regions do you want to extrude? I want to extrude that sketch that I just did. So by default it's given us 25mm. I want double that, I want 50. So 50, enter, and we see now that our cube or box now has extruded itself 50mm. So the rectangle now has extruded itself 50mm. Green tick. So there we have the rectangle, and I suppose if you thought of it like a chunk of ice that you're about to start carving now, this is the chunk of ice that you need to start with. If you start with anything smaller, you're not going to be able to create that shape. So I can start cutting sections now off that. The first one I want to cut is, I suppose I could go back over to my drawing. I want to start cutting this section out of it. Okay, so what size is that rectangle? So I'm going to look straight down on the top of it, and I want to sketch again. So this time I want to sketch, and if that's me with the sketch plane you want to sketch onto, I want to sketch onto this surface here. So we can see now that the sketch plane is up and sketching onto this surface. Next thing I want to do is to draw a rectangle that I'm going to cut out of that shape. So I could choose the center rectangle again, but it would be a lot easier for me to choose the corner rectangle this time, and to start on this corner and to draw a rectangle of any size. This dimension here is 50. Let's double check. Yeah, 50. And this dimension here is 24. So if it's 24 here and it's 56 altogether, it's going to be 32. So a bit of maths there, 32 mil. And that's the section that we want to take out of it. So green tick once we're finished our sketch. And again, we're going to use this extrude feature. And instead of extruding the whole shape this time, I'm going to extrude this sketch that we did. Okay, and we see when we choose extrude that it wants to add something onto our shape. Okay, we don't want to add, we want to remove. So click on remove and the arrow changes. And you can do a few things here. You could drag this arrow down all the way down through our shape if you wanted. You could also change it here. So we know that the height of that shape, what the height of that shape is, I can put that in there and it would just cut through the whole height of the shape. Or alternatively, I could down click on blind and just go up to next. So it's going to cut through to the next surface, which was the bottom of the shape. So that's what I'm going to choose. Green tick once I'm finished, and it's cut that section out of my shape. Okay, last thing we need to cut is this slanted surface here. Okay, so I'm going to look in at this front shape. Okay, so this would be like looking in at the elevation before I make the cut. And again, I'm sketching. What am I going sketching onto? Make sure that you choose this face here. So that's the face that you want to sketch onto. And again, we see sketch number 3. The plane for that is on this front section here. So looking at the front of it again. Always easiest when you're sketching just to look in at the surface. 90 degrees in at the surface that you want to sketch onto. Choose my line feature this time, and I'm going to start here at this top right corner. I'm just going to go across any measurement at all. Try not to get it that you have a square around your dot. So that's showing me there that that's the midpoint of this line. That's showing me that it's snapped on here. I don't want to snap onto anything, I just want it to be a measurement. Okay, so anywhere there at all. And then joining it down here and making sure to close your sketch all the way back up to the top. So I've closed my sketch now. We know that this is a 90 degree angle altogether, and we want this to be a 60 degree angle here. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to choose my dimension tool. I'm going to choose this line here and this line here, and now I've got the option of doing an angle. So if it's 60 degrees I want here, that means I want 30 degrees here. So I'm just going to change that to a 30 degree angle, and the whole shape then should turn black on the outline, which means that OnShape knows exactly where each of them lines is meant to be. So that's what we want to see in a sketch. So that's our 30 degree angle. We're going back to features, and we already know how to cut. So I want to choose this. This is what I want to extrude, this surface here. And you can see now it's adding a surface, adding more material onto our shape, which isn't what we want. We want to remove. The arrow flips, and now it's removed. And again, we're just going up to next. Just going to cut through all of that shape. Green tick once that's finished. And there's our shape. So if we want to look at that in isometric, we're just clicking here on this surface here. Okay, and you can look at it from different angles there. Okay, but this is the way we drew it, so that's the way we're going to look at it. One thing I like to do just before I take a screenshot of it is to hide all of the planes. Okay, and that's our shape now drawn in OnShape. So I'm going to go back now to my sheet, and just before we finish, I'd like to go and I'd like to label this the freehand sketch. I'd like to label my elevation, my plan, and my end view. I'd like to label my isometric drawing, and the last thing I'm going to do is print out my 3D model and just stick it onto my sheet here as well, so that we're going to have that done as well. Okay, so now we have a fully finished drawing where we have the elevation, the plan and the end view, so the 3 orthographics. We have a freehand sketch done of it in 3D. We have our isometric drawn, and we also have a 3D model done out, printed, stuck onto the sheet, just as evidence that we have made it on OnShape as well. Okay, so once you're finished, you can share the model of OnShape to our team on OnShape, and put the picture up on the assignment of the sheet. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.